This is the Thursday, July 30th, 2020 edition of the Dark Illumination Report Podcast Extra. On today's episode of the podcast, I'm going to be answering a question from James, who asked me, what's the difference between Theistic Satanism and Diabolism?
This is a Dark Illumination Report Extra with RJ Womack.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining me for this episode of the podcast. This is the Dark Illumination Report podcast, where we promote the religious worship of Satan and demons as a serious faith and way of life. And I'm your host, RJ Womack, aka Brother Nero, your friendly neighborhood diabolist. And as always, thanks for being here. And I hope everybody's doing well. And I hope everybody has had a good week so far. James asked me to explain what the difference is. And first, I have to say that I dropped the term theistic Satanism years ago simply because it just didn't fit. It's not appropriate. Theistic Satanism is a term that is used in Satanism, but it doesn't really mean theistic Satanism anymore. The people that practice theistic Satanism typically have such an impersonal view of Satan that they might as well be agnostic or atheist, because their idea of Satan is so undefined that it really doesn't have any meaning. It's like, I believe in Satan as a force, or I believe in Satan as a principle, or I might even believe in him as a deity, but I don't think he actually cares about what I do enough to actually give me any kind of structure or any kind of belief system. Anything I want to do is considered religious Satanism. Like, for example, they'll say, I had a friend of mine years ago who would say, well, Satanism is whatever I want to do. So Satan has no goals for you. He has no morals. He has no philosophy of his own. He just lets you do what you want to do and you don't care. Well, yeah, Satan doesn't care about my life. He doesn't care about what I do as long as I don't disrespect him. Well, how do you know if you're disrespecting him if he has no principles, if he has no moral code, if he has no ideas that he stands for? And so my friend's idea was, if I want to be a drunk or a drug addict, Satan's fine with that. If I want to be a workaholic or an entrepreneur, he's fine with that. He doesn't care what I do. He doesn't care how I live. So what's the point of worshiping him if you don't think he cares about what you do and has no real interaction with your life? And that's kind of the way that a lot of theistic Satanists approach this. They'll say they're religious Satanist, or they'll say they're theistic Satanist, but if you look at what they actually believe, there is no universal sacred text. There is no universal cosmology. There is no universally accepted moral code. Depending on who you ask, you're going to get a lot of different answers. So there is no standard by which you can judge what a theistic Satanist is. And if you look at what they actually believe, is just atheistic Satanism with a varnish of religious Satanism on top of it. If you look at their philosophy, it's basically atheistic Satanism in a nutshell. They'll also tell you that real Satanists don't actually worship Satan. Satan doesn't desire any worship, which is basically the line of the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple. Satan doesn't exist, Satan this and that. It's just the same stuff over and over again. The only difference is that they hate the Church of Satan and they hate the Satanic Temple so much that they will choose to basically follow the philosophy of atheistic Satanism laid out by LaVey, but they won't admit it. So they'll call themselves theistic Satanists, but their whole philosophy is atheism. And that's part of the issue that I have with theistic Satanists. I also would point out that a lot of them have a Hollywood version of their beliefs, by that I mean they really do believe that Satan's intention is to destroy the universe and to destroy mankind, and they're living out some kind of horror movie fantasy. And this is what you find with the black metal kids. And for those of you who are new to the program, when I refer to black metal kids, again, I'm not referring to just teenagers. I'm referring to adults also that live this black metal imagery, that wear the black metal shirts and wear corpse paint and have long hair and wear black lipstick and all that kind of stuff. There are people anywhere from the age of like 12 to about 55 years old who insist on behaving like they're 14 years old. And I call them black metal kids. Because they have a certain mentality, and the mentality is Satan wants to destroy the universe, and Satan hates all of creation, and the way to serve Satan is to do evil. Now, if you're a black metal fan that's not one of those people, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the stupid people. So that's one of my issues, and that's the kind of stuff that the kind of people that theistic Satanism attracts. And I don't want to have anything to do with that. I'm also tired of people telling me, who is an actual religious Satanist, who actually worships Satan, how I'm supposed to believe in Satan, when believing in Satan and praying to Satan is far older than anything these guys believe in. And they're going to tell me what a Satanist is when I've been practicing it longer than most of them have been alive. The last thing I want to point out with regard to theistic Satanism is the fact that many of them are anti-Christian and they believe in blasphemy and they believe in all that stuff, which I'm not against. I mean, I'm up for a good black mass occasionally, but you got to realize that I've been a Satanist for 40 years now. And I did all this stuff when I was 14. I wasn't doing it at age 50. I've already outgrown all that. My belief in Satan has evolved to be more than just anti-Christianity. I mean, I believe the best way to serve, the best way to oppose Christianity is to not give it any power over your life, to not even acknowledge the Christian God or his followers. I believe that living by your own moral code and not having any concern for dualistic moralism is a way to deal a blow to Christianity and to his followers. And I believe the more attention you pay him, the more power you give him. And for those of you who may not know, I believe in the Christian God. I believe he exists, but I believe he's a parasitic entity that feeds off the pain and misery of others. And I believe he feeds off of the guilt that people have and the fear of death and hell and all that stuff. I believe it gives him power. And I believe that's what he feeds off of. And that's what his whole religion is based on. If you don't worship me, you'll burn. And I believe that constant fear of the afterlife is what gives him power, that energy that he gets from that. So the best way to hinder his ability to impact the world, in my opinion, is to live your life without giving him a second thought. Now, in my own life, as I've pointed out many times before, I don't give much thought to the Christian God. I don't think about the Christian God. I don't talk about the Christian God. The only time I really speak about him and the only time I really talk about him in general is when I'm doing a podcast like this, explaining my core principles. But outside of my book or outside of my, podcast, I really don't give much thought to him or anything about his religion in general. So, because I believe that's the best way to keep him from interacting in the world. The more thought you give to him, the more power you give to him. That's what I believe. Now, getting to the point of what's the difference between theistic Satanism and diabolism is diabolism really isn't a religion. Diabolism is a term that is rarely used by many people. It's used by some people, but it's very rarely used. It's a term that's actually older than the term Satanism, and it actually means the religious worship of the devil. And that's why I chose it. Now, what I preach here is my particular tradition of diabolism, which I haven't really announced the formal name of yet. It's going to have a specific name. It's going to have a specific terminology to refer to it. And basically, the ministry is going to be based on that. And if you agree with the tradition of diabolism that I'm creating and you want to follow it and you believe in it and you believe in the principles that myself and others have come up with based on our experiences and based on our communications and religious experiences, then you can follow it. If you don't, then more power to you. You can do whatever you want. And one of the things I want to be clear about is I'm not trying to say that my approach is the be all and end all or true Satanism or not. But what I am trying to say is that the tradition that I follow is going to be far more structured and based on my personal experiences and the personal experiences of others that I've worked with. So, I mean, at least the tradition is going to be based on people that actually practice, not people that are theorizing on Facebook. That's the difference. The other thing I will say is that one of the reasons I'm creating my own tradition is not because of an ego-driven thing. It's not like I'm Nero and I know everything and I'm the be-all and end-all and I'm the next LaVey or the next Crowley, that sort of thing. That's not what motivated me to create my own tradition. What motivated me to create my own tradition, or in the process of creating my own tradition, is the fact that, people would tell me, real Satanists don't do this. Real Satanists don't do that. Real Satanists don't believe this. Real Satanists don't believe that. Well, it's going to be very easy for me to go, well, I'm not a Satanist. I don't consider theistic Satanist part of my religion. I don't consider any form of Satanism part of my religion. I'm a diabolist. And not only am I a diabolist, but I'm a diabolist who created my own tradition of diabolism just so I wouldn't have to hear people like you tell me what Satanists do, because I'm not a Satanist. And since I'm the founder of the tradition, I can say what the tradition believes in and what it doesn't because I founded it. And that's kind of the way I got around that. It eliminates drama. It eliminates nonsense. It eliminates people telling you how to practice. And my whole philosophy is very simple. What I was taught through my experiences is that Satan doesn't care about moral codes and all that stuff. He doesn't care about dualism in that sense. He allows you to follow your own moral code. He doesn't concern himself with concepts like good or evil or stuff like that. He's very nature oriented in my experience. And nature is full of gray areas. There is no black and white in nature. It's just shades of gray. So that's the way we should live our life. And we should live our life based on the idea that whatever is good for us and whatever is good for Satan in our life is what is right for us. So whatever you do with your life is between you and Satan and no one else. So let me explain that a little further. Let's say for one person, they decide that they feel comfortable with monogamy, okay? Let's say they want to be married to one person and that's it, and that's all. That's perfectly fine in my tradition of diabolism, because whatever you do in your life is between you and Satan, as long as you don't disrespect Satan and as long as you have worked it out with him, what he feels is right. Look for his guidance and direction. And you might say, well, that's not much different than what your friend said. But it is, because we believe that Satan has morals. We believe that the demons have morals based on our experience with them. We believe they expect things from their followers. They have conditions for their followers. They just don't expect them to live their life without any consequences or without any goals or without any things that Satan wants from them or the demons want for them. And that's the difference. See, whatever your goals for your life are, whatever your mission is, whatever your purpose is between you and Satan. And that's for you to work out with him. So in many ways, you're the architect of your destiny. In many ways, you do have freedom that you wouldn't have in Christianity. Satan allows for that freedom, but he also has expectations for his followers, and he usually makes that clear to them. And he expects them to uphold their agreements, and he expects them to uphold whatever he sets for them. Whereas theistic Satanists, although they claim to believe in Satan, it's largely whatever they want to do, largely whatever they believe is right, and they don't have any concern for Satan or the demons or the purpose for which they're here. Another thing that I might point out that's different about diabolism as opposed to theistic Satanism is that we believe that mankind was put here to worship the gods, that the gods get power from our worship, from our offerings, from our prayers, from our sexual offerings, whatever the case may be, whatever type of offering you may be making. We believe that the gods get energy from that worship and from those offerings. And that is one of the reasons why mankind was created, for the sake of the gods. And a lot of people don't like that idea, but that is a very ancient idea. It goes back to the most ancient recorded religions, the very first religions, the idea that we are here to worship the gods, and we are here, we were created to worship them. That's why we're here. And we give them worship, they get energy to exist, and in return, they give us blessings. That's the idea. And that's one of the differences between my tradition of diabolism and theistic Satanism, is we don't believe it's all about us. We believe that it's about the gods, and we believe that it's equally about the gods at the very least as it is about us. So this idea that it's all about me and my personal evolution, and I'm a living God, that doesn't exist in this tradition. We don't believe in that kind of idea. We believe that Satan is the supreme God of our pantheon, and all the other demonic gods are equally as important and equally deserving of worship. And we're here to help them and serve them, and they in turn bless us with their gifts. And they deserve respect because they're the ones that gave us free will. They're the ones that gave us knowledge and wisdom. And they're the ones that gave us the inspiration for science and technology. And they're the ones that helped us to learn how to evolve and explore our universe. So they deserve our respect. You see, that's what the difference between what we believe and what theistic Satanists believe. A lot of theistic Satanists, like I said, it's glorified atheism, or it's atheism with a varnish of religious worship on it, but it's really just atheistic Satanism from the Church of Satan or from the Satanic Temple with a religious imagery put on top of it. That's it. Anyway, that's it. I hope that explains it. I hope that gives you an idea where I'm coming from. I hope it also gives you an idea why I dislike theistic Satanism so much. Anyway, take care, everybody. Have a good one. As always, remember to tell somebody about the podcast if you like what we're doing here. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Illumination Report podcast. For the latest news headlines, show information, and more, go to rjwomack.com. That's RJWOMACK.